Hey everybody, welcome to the Wild Poke Spot where your boy Wild Trainer hits you with some VGC, some unusual VGC. So I like to play the format called Reg J, which is the current format for the online rank ladder for Scarlet and Violet. I know. Hold on, just my camera over here. You all are still probably playing ZA and everything, but I actually am still enjoying this format. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit here and the updates that I've seen. So we're almost done with the second season of the format, and this is sort of like my update for it. No, I don't want to battle. It's team build. Excuse me. I don't use Showdown very much, despite what that might show you. So I haven't seen too many new different like off meta picks. That we like discussed in the last video, like a lot of these low usage mons. Battle Room did a video on Mew. He absolutely crushed people with like a pledge move Mew. So let's talk about that. So Alex Underhill, I believe that's his name. He runs a YouTube channel called The Battle Room. I frequently watch his channel. He posts VGC content. And I watch stuff like Moxie boosting and stuff. But Alex touched on Reg J a little bit with this Mew set, so I don't remember the full set, but I know he was using pledge moves. So I know he used like grass pledge, Rilla. I believe this had like water pledge and like fire pledge. With like expanding force. And I gotta go check on his last move. It's probably most likely protect, knowing it's like a VGC player and everything. But this was like super interesting. This was like probably the most unique thing I had seen. And another YouTuber had used. I mean, probably besides like somebody like that's a plus one. Plus one always uses like really, really super niche mons that nobody else uses. It gives them some shine, you know. You gotta love people like plus one. But this pledge move Mew was absolutely tearing assholes out of people's bodies. So like, I don't know what was his EV spread on it. I don't know if he shared that with us during the video. I watched that video weeks ago. But this is just kind of like my mid meta, like, well, late meta, because we're about to get another ladder. If we do get another ladder format, I'm very interested to see what they do. But that's besides the point. So yeah, he was tearing people up with this set. I'm actually gonna go scroll over to his video really quickly to see if like the set is actually correct.
Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. I'm, of course, the Battle Room. And today I'm joined by no one except this beautiful and amazing Mew team that I found on Twitter. So I was scrolling and I was just kind of bookmarking some teams to potentially use, and I saw this one and I was like, what could Mew possibly do? Like, what is this?
Yeah, so I was right. So it's expanding force, fire pledge, water pledge, and protect. Crazy that I remember the set and I hadn't watched this video in weeks, but yeah, and I remembered it. I have felt like there was an NDD on the team, so that's why I was like sure there was expanding force. But if you guys are like interested in watching like Reg J, go check out his content. Go check out my content. Go check out That's a Plus One. There are a few people that are like kind of like covering Reg J a little bit. I'm pretty sure everybody's moved on to ZA, but if you guys are interested in like how these mythicals fare in battle at all, if you have them, yeah, people like us are trying to cover it a little bit. Me more so than others, but yeah. So this Mew was one shotting shit that Dever should have one shotted, or like chunking things that I wouldn't expect the pledge moves to be doing. So like, yeah, these are 80 base power moves, but Mew doesn't. This Mew was probably like max special attack, maybe like max. That's a trick room. Maybe like max HP. I can see him going something like max speed and then probably like four in like defense or like spadef or something. Maybe he went for like a more bulkier set here. He might touch over it on the video, but this was interesting. I had not seen a set like this, and this is probably like one of the more unique Mew sets if anybody was ever gonna like play it. So something else that I had seen, you guys get to see my home screen a little bit there, is we're gonna call this the Dragon Killer. I seen Fairy Arceus pop up in quite a bit of usage here instead of like the normal variant. There's no fairy plate. There's got to be a fairy plate. What is the fairy plate called? Pixie plate. Well, at least I would assume that's the fairy plate. But yeah, I've seen Fairy Killer Arceus. I mean, Dragon Killer Arceus with like D Gleam, Calm Mind, Protect, and then I'm not sure what they were running in the last move. Maybe is like it's like a flex pick. Maybe you run E speed still. Uh, Maybe you run a move like Psychic or Moonblast for coverage because you're running. But actually can't learn Moonblast. That Deagling might be the best fairy move this thing can actually learn. You get play. Oh, it doesn't get play rough. That's interesting. So this is kind. I think the last move was Snarl, if I'm remembering correctly. Snarl to round off this set, and it makes sense so that it could help it beat special attackers and really strong special attackers like Kyogre, Miraidon, and things like that. The Snarl would give you. The Snarl will get. Excuse me, I thought I heard something. The Snarl will give you like an advantage into other special attackers. So that's definitely like interesting here. This is the only other variant of Arceus I've seen outside of the E Speed set. I briefly touched on like the very support set Arceus. That set was running like Will-O-Wisp. It was still running Snarl, Protect, and I don't remember the last move that support set was running. I really don't. I think it was running like Recover. Something like that. I believe Arceus does get Recover. Arceus does get Recover. So yeah, I was running something like Recover or something. Super interesting set. Super interesting set. Special Arceus essentially. So it's like max special attack, probably max def or max physical defense to help on the other end of the bulk spectrum because you're calm minding and boosting the spadef anyways, right? Or maybe max HP. So that was most likely their set. That's probably where you would put the EVs or the most beneficial place to put the EVs as well as speed. Speed is very good for a special attacker. Fast special attackers are good, especially ones that can hit hard. And Arceus does have very decent natural bulk at 120 apiece. I could see them investing in the speed and then maybe just throwing like 4 in HP or going like half in speed. Because let's see how fast this Arceus is at level 50. With like that kind of speed investment. At level 50, Arceus hits 172 speed. That's pretty fucking fast, bro. With like speed investment. Let's see like first move. 140 with zero speed investment. That's not bad. Sorry, I keep thinking I'm hearing something. 140 with zero speed investment is not bad, but I'm just thinking where would it really mostly be beneficial to put these EVs at? I guess it all depends on like how you really want to run this Arceus set. Like, what are you trying to outspeed? What are you trying to? Because if you do go max speed investment off like a single like Icy Wind, you do outspeed like Calorex's and Miraidons, assuming they're like max speed investment as well, right? So yeah, this Arceus was definitely paired with stuff like Smeargle. Um, this is different because like Arceus's best partner was Pal, so I believe they had there's a Chi Yu on this team. So it's just like the special version of Cheap How. So it was really interesting. They were going a special spectrum with this. Now, mythicals I still haven't seen anybody use. We're gonna go over this again. I have not seen anybody use Hoopa, and I just really think that like Hoopa will smash people. Now, there's probably some like niche person out there on YouTube that's like using Hoopa for like content, but I'm talking about like real dedicated like Hoopa players. Like, haven't really seen any out there. And it makes so like, it's rare that a lot of people would have these mythicals and then would want to actually like really compete with them in VGC. It's rare, definitely rare to be using these kind of Pokemon on the ladder. I've seen a lot of Darkrai sets. The most I've seen a little bit of a change to the way people were running Darkrai. So I've seen people just forego and use Hypnosis over Dark Void because it's a little bit more accurate. And once you get up the gravity, you are clicking a 100% accurate sleep move now. So this was definitely interesting tech to see people use this over Dark Void. It begs me, are they still actually running Dark Void on the set? People who run Darkrai, let me know. Are you still actually using the Dark Void Hypnosis combo? And of course, its best tech moves are stuff like Ice Beam and Dark Pulse. Those are just really like Dark and Ice coverage is just really good. You're hitting like most things for neutral, if not super effective damage. Hard to resist these two type coverages right here. That being said, though, these Darkrai's do tend to be max speed investment. Let's just do the level 50 for base speed comparisons. So 177 speed with max speed investment is not bad, and sometimes I see even people go as far as to run like a speed boosting nature. So you hit that like sub 200 speed right there, and that's like pushing Reggie Elecki levels of fast. Like, you're faster than most. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's rare you'll do see people run like Jolly Pokemon, like or Jolly Koridon and stuff. You do see it happen now, right? But in my opinion, those Pokemon benefit more from running a attack boosting nature than speed, just because like yeah, you are outspeeding the opposing Pokemon you are trying to run because like these super meta Pokemon are like 10 to 20 points in speed difference. Like, it's very close, and they are running investment. But do they all go the extra mile and run the nature investment? Because that will make sure you outspeed anybody who's just running straight investment, but you are hitting less hard. But Pokemon like Miraidon and Koridon can stack so many damage amplifiers, especially Mirai in particular, that speed nature might not hurt it in the long run, right? But this definitely does, for me trying out and actually testing this Darkrai. Running the speed nature on Darkrai does hurt in the damage output. You would really want to run like a max special attack with max speed and then run like a special attack boosting nature so that when you're not clicking Dark Void, you actually are chipping shit really nicely. But this is still circumvented a little bit by Bad Dreams. Now, Darkrai is just nastily frail, especially in a meta game where like this Scarlet and Violet doubles meta. It's ever since there's been restricted's been allowed. Fairies and fighting type coverage, and fairies and fighting types are very good. I mean, just look at Koridon, Fluttermane, Urshifu. There are a lot of things that hit Darkrai super effectively and that are actually faster than it. So that's why it's important to actually run this extra boosting speed nature because Darkrai does need to be faster than Pokemon. Like, Urshifu doesn't outspeed Darkrai, but it will with a Scarf. It 100% will with a Scarf, even if you are like max speed invested like this. This thing with this type of spread though, you will outspeed most Koridons and Miraidons, and maybe even some Calirexes that are not max speed investment. Like, if they run hardly any speed investment at all, like just to slightly outspeed Mirais and Korais with like max investment, you might actually catch them on let's run it here. Let's run it. Let's see it. Let's actually test it. Let's not leave it up to ifs and maybes, right? I'm the Reg J guy, right? I gotta let you know for sure. So we go level 50 Calyrex. Woo! That's fucking fast, man. Woo! So yeah, Calyrex would have to run damn near no. What are we? 194. Sorry, I swapped over to the other thing. He's 194, so Calyrex would have to run like damn near. I mean, that's almost max speed investment, and I could see Calyrex is maybe investing less than this into speed because they really want to outspeed Mirais. And here's another thing here: you do see these more powerful restricted mons still in this format when you queue up for rank. I am still seeing a decent amount of Miraidons and a decent amount of Calyrex Shadow, as well as a little bit of Kyogre. But definitely these two are still the more prevalent type. Now, Ice Rider, not as much now. Ice Rider was very popular in the I format. A little bit less Ice Riders now because people are trying out the other slot with a mythical and trying out these two with like different mythicals and stuff as well as Kyogre. But yeah, you still see people run the tried and true restrictors that have been working, like me, Ryan Calyrex, with other things as well as like the standard. Like I still ran into a few people who are still running Calyrex Zamazenta, like that standard core Calyrex Zamazenta with like Life Orb or like Sash, Calyrex. So I've seen that all over the place. Still, not too many people using these mythicals, sadly, and even if they are, it might even be gen, right? Like again, not too many people actually have these Pokemon, especially like the ones that haven't been recently distributed. Like I'm pretty sure one of the main reasons why I haven't actually seen too many Hoopa players and ran into too many Hoopa players, especially not dedicated ones, is just because of the distribution, right? Like it's been years since this thing has been distributed, probably even a decade now. So that definitely plays a factor into why people don't have it and are not like currently using it. If you're playing Reg J at all, this is definitely a big reason why you're not seeing it. It's the distribution factor. I already filled up 6 mons here, but two of these aren't mythical, so we can go ahead and dump these. Just kind of talking and proving a point here. Um, what else do we want to talk about here as far as the Reg J 4 match? I hopped on the ladder yesterday and I did see one stall alternatives. If you guys do know me and watch my content, I play alternatives, so that was kind of fun to see. Still very low in usage though. I'm trying to think if I've seen anything like off meta or unique in this format. I really haven't. It's still just been the standard. Like people have played around with Arceus a little bit, but it's still been the standard E-Speed Arceus that you mostly run into on the ladder. And you don't really see like these super niche things like Volcanion and Deancey and stuff. Like I ran into one person a piece, maybe using each of those, maybe two Deanceys, but just not too many. And it's definitely for distribution methods. Haven't ran into any Keldeos either. Like none of these niche mythicals. I think Keldeo is super interesting though. It's essentially like a special a special water fighting type. Now, I feel like for Keldeo to ever see competitive usage, because here's the thing with the announcement of Legends ZA DLC, could we ever see mythicals getting more competitive play? Spoiler alert, click off the video now if you don't want to be spoiled. But some of the mythicals are getting megas, right? I believe it's just Zeraora. Off the top of my head, Zeraora is getting a mega. And when you look at stuff like Magearna, you can definitely tell that they were made with competitive viability in mind. But when you look at Keldeo, right? you just look at Keldeo and man, what did they do to Keldeo, bro? Like its ability might as well just not be there. Justified raises its attack stage by one if it's hit by a dark type move. All right, dark type moves are not common attacking types, even though it is kind of good defensively against like stuff like CSR, right? But it's just not a good type genuinely defensively. Um, Offensively, it is a decent type, but you're not gonna. What I'm trying to say, you're not gonna see too many Pokemon flinging out dark type attacks, and you're rarely gonna be able to predict when it's gonna come out. Like the only common dark type attack I'm thinking about in VGC is like a Dark Pulse from Chiyu, um, or maybe like a Ruination or something. But you wouldn't want to take a Ruination with Keldeo just for +1 attack. And guys, just look at his stat spread. This is the problem. It's a special attacker that has an ability that boosts its physical attack, and Keldeo's physical attack is pitiful. 72, bro, is not gonna cut it, even when there's no legendaries around. Let alone Pokemon that can take hits from like Miraidon and Koraidon and Calyrex, like these massively bulky Pokemon. Like even with this stat line, if you get intimidated and you throw a super effective attack in the Incineroar or anything that's super effective, right? Like a physical water or fighting move, it's chunking that shit. And it might be a 3 or 4 shot. Lord have mercy if they get reflect up, right? So its ability competitively is just horrible, and this is probably why you won't ever see Keldeo online, and people will probably just use it for like content or something, bro. Like they're gonna essentially be locking themselves out of a Pokemon with an ability. Like you could run max attack and then put it next to a beat up user. But where are you getting at here? Again, we're gonna do the level 50 calc, so I can give you guys like proper comparisons to hard hitting Pokemon or stuff that like this thing might actually go up against. 122 ain't cutting it, bro. I'm sorry. Even with attack boost, 122 ain't cutting it. Now you're blowing a turn just to actually allow this thing to be able to hit, right? And Keldeo, as you can see, ain't that bulky. It's got decent, I mean this, decent bulk, but not a typing that can take hits. Water fighting defensively is not a good typing. The fighting adds several different weaknesses to the water type that on its own defensively is a good typing. But water fighting is just, you're going to get chunked by these fairies. You're going to get chunked by flying moves. Nasty, right? And anything that hits this thing super effectively is probably going to drop it to 1, given that like it doesn't have the bulk to take 2 super effective hits. Like this may not look like trash bulk, but when you're taking super effective hits from stuff like Miraidon, Koraidon, even the Paradox Pokemon, like let's not even talk about Fluttermane and Miraidon because I keep bringing them up, but let's say you take a super effective hit from something like Sandy Shocks, right? Like Sandy Shocks will knock this thing straight out, right? You're just anything that can hit this thing. Halucha might knock this motherfucker out, like with fucking flying press. Like this is not a good defensive typing. Urshifu just makes this typing look good because Urshi can fucking hit through protect. But we got to be real here. Urshi's typing, like I tell people all the time with Calyrex, is built for you to stop it. There's a reason why they just didn't make it water type and they just left the fucking they left the obviously it's a fighting type, right? But water fighting defensively is not a good typing. It's just not. It's just fucking not. And Keldeo does deserve to be a water fighting, but they gotta fucking rework this ability. Keldeo honestly should get something akin to Zacian's ability where like off rip when it enters the battle it goes +1, or give Keldeo like the guard dog ability. Don't give it Defiant, because Defiant is just like a game breaking ability if it can go off, right? Like Defiant is just really fucking nasty. If you can force your opponent to proc a stat drop on a Defiant Pokemon, this thing is not just going to be tearing assholes out of its body. But again, Defiant is an attack boosting thing. This Pokemon needs something like competitive. Competitive would be a much, excuse my typing here. Competitive would be a much better ability, and it fits in line if you've ever actually seen the movie because Keldeo is competitive. If you've ever watched the movie with the Swords of Justice, right? Keldeo's whole thing is that it loves to battle and it loves to fight. It's super competitive, right? I don't understand why they gave it justified. I just don't. When you look at its stat line, it just doesn't make sense, right? But that's enough of me dogging about Keldeo. I actually really like the premise and the idea of Keldeo here. Let's talk about another one of these mythical Pokemon here. Let's see. I just love to dive into this format here. Um, but I talk about a lot about the mythicals, right? Now, how about we change it? Let's talk about the restricted that could be paired with these mythicals. Now, something I think people have not taken advantage of is like really cool hard pairs like Mewtwo and Mew. Like honestly, bro, I think if you put a life orb on Mewtwo, you'll absolutely just rip shit up. Like I think you'll absolutely just rip shit up. And you can give Mewtwo an ability like Unnerve. I think Pressure would be better. Um, just because Unnerve is competitively in doubles, I don't feel like it's a good ability. Berries are common in VGC, but Citrus Berry is usually only really being seen right now on Incineroar and Brute Bonnet. And Brute Bonnet is just not in this format right now. Like, Brute Bonnet does not exist. Brute Bonnet was one of those Pokemon that if you go back and watch the Worlds, it got called upon to perform a specific thing, which was help Giovanni and James get to the top. All right, and I'm pretty sure there's other people who used Brute Bonnet in that tournament, but it just had a specific meta call. It was really good. Like it was good into Koraidon and it was good into Calyrex Shadow, which were by way and clear the two best restricteds at that tournament, which you can see from the two teams. They have both of those Pokemon. I could be wrong here. I think James's team, not James, I think Giovanni might have had Lunala. I could be wrong here. I got to go back and actually watch. I only remember Giovanni having Koraidon. I forget his second restricted. It might have been Shadow Rider, though. I know it was a ghost type, though. His second restricted was a ghost type. So it was either Lunala or Koraidon. I don't think he ever brought the Lunala to the matchup if he did have a Lunala on his team, though. But yeah, Mewtwo can actually tear people up right here. It can actually just rip people apart with Life Orb. This thing on Psychic Terrain with 154 special attack will damn near hit like it's Calyrex. Like, for a comparison, and this is why you've seen like Life Orb recently, or not recently, but maybe within like the past 6 months, pop up on Calyrex. Let's just get. I actually want to look at the damage comparison because Calyrex is essentially, aside from Mirai and Koraidon, like Kyogre, is like the hardest off rip, hardest hitting restricted. Like modifiers. Oops, accidentally pulled the camera out. I was wondering what happened. I thought the video stopped. My freaking thing, it slid out my leg. But here we go. Let's delete the Keldeo and let's look at Calyrex for a damage comparison. And I might even go ahead and get into calcs here. So this is this is very similar damage right here. Calyrex actually slightly hits harder than Mewtwo. Mewtwo does have higher HP, but Calyrex has higher Spadef as well as with similar HP. So you could argue that Calyrex is a little bit more naturally bulky than Mewtwo for sure. It damn sure is faster. Definitely not equally built restricted as well as having a better ability. But here's the thing: Mewtwo gets better coverage moves. Like if we look at the coverage, right? Does this thing get? It doesn't get stuff like Ice Beam. It doesn't get stuff like Thunderbolt. It doesn't get stuff like Thunder, right? Like he's kind of like Calyrex is kind of like the most moves you'll see on it is like Psychic, Astral Barrage, Draining Kiss. You'll see a bug move on it occasionally, like stuff like Pollen Puff, right? I believe Pollen Puff is a bug move. Pollen Puff is a bug move, and it actually does decent damage. But yeah, you'll occasionally see a run attack move like Draining Kiss or Pollen Puff. But Mewtwo with this Life Orb, man, gets really nasty coverage moves. You don't want to take an Ice Beam from a Life Orb Mewtwo. You just don't. You really just don't. And I hope they give Pokemon like Mewtwo a buff because it's time for Mewtwo to get a new ability. If Mewtwo, for the love of God, ever gets an ability like Sheer Force, which Mewtwo should have something like Sheer Force, bro. Like we're diving into fan fiction here, but 400% should have something like Sheer Force. It should have something like Prism Marble, but Sheer Force makes a lot more sense because you would think it's able to put out just massive amounts of Sheer Force with like its telekinetic abilities and everything. But this Sheer Force Life Orb Mewtwo would like break the meta if it was ever given like an actual viable ability like Calyrex. And psychic typing is really not good defensively in the current meta or at all anymore. They've built counters to Psychic and Dark and Steel, and there's just better Pokemon now. But if Mewtwo ever gets an update outside of its like uh, gimmick forms, I think it could be really good. But that's enough for me here today. I don't think there's anything else I really want to cover about the format. I haven't seen too many meta shifts. It's kind of just been like Reg J has just kind of been like diet Reg I, where it's like I get sprinkles of different like restricted matchups and sprinkles of different mythicals here and there, but people aren't really getting too unique with this, and it's got to just be due to like the low distribution of all these mythicals, and then you actually having to be an actual decent VGC player to come into this meta with those mythicals, because like this is a high powered format. This is not the hold your hand, come and try it format that like Reggae was. You could potentially be queuing up against shit like Calyrex, like Miraidon, right? These Pokemon that are threatening a one hit knockout or threatening to damn near chunk you for 80-90% if you're not bulky on that end that they're hitting you on. So yeah, I can understand why there aren't too many newcomers in this format. I would have hoped that there would have been, just because it's like, oh man, you get to play with these really cool Pokemon that people don't often use, but that does not seem to be the case. I don't ever have a problem with like finding a ranked match, even after ZA is released. There are still people playing ranked Reg J. So if you're still looking to play it and queue up for it, the SV ladder is not dead, bro. There are people still on it for sure. So if you're still looking to be one of those trainers like I am, who is using Pokemon that nobody else is using, and you know what? I kind of didn't want to do this just for sniping purposes. I'm not anybody, so like, who really cares if I get sniped, right? But if you guys ever want to see me like cover my team in depth and like the way I built it and why I built it the way I built it, just put down in the comments. Let me know, and I would definitely make a video on it for sure. I'd love to shit if people would want to know like how I built my team and the way I built it, because I started VGC from scratch in Sword and Shield, and was super interested in coming to play Scarlet and Violet because around towards the end of Sword and Shield, I feel like I got the grasp of kind of how to really play VGC, and it took some while to get used to like the new gimmick of terrestrialization and everything. It Take me a few regs, honestly. But I got used to it and got a lot better at VGC just really from scratch and watching YouTube videos just like everybody else, right? But yeah, if you're looking for more Reg J content, I'm the guy. If you watched this far, thank you so much. Drop a sub, drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, if you guys want to see my personal team breakdown on Reg J, let me know. Leave it in the comments. Wild Tiger out.